Welcome to the Chromaniacs, your weekly look inside SanDiego.FC and MLS. My name's Craig Elston, joined as always by two Chromaniacs, Tony Sanchez and Alex Pena, here for Season 2, Episode 13 of your favorite SDFC podcast. Tony, what's going on?
Well, I mean, I'm clearly excited for the other San Diego soccer team involved in playoffs in a final. I'm giving that positive juju. But hey, you know what? Even the Sockers gave an homage to San Diego FC by getting themselves a red card. So, a little bit of a parallel there. But at the end of the day, so excited. Good to hear from Mikey Varas post-match. So that's going to be exciting to discuss as well. Alex.
Hey, looking sharp, Tony, and it's starting to feel like a Smiths song or a Hombres G song, or everyone's feeling down, but the season's not over. We still got plenty to talk about here on the Chromaniacs. So yeah, Sockers are good. Can't wait for Friday night. I hope everyone's there. Be there, be square, and hopefully they win another championship, right, Craig?
Well, you know what? Let's start things right off, because if we need to bring some positivity in, we're not quite at the point that we've been in some years of Padres Hot Tub where I'll need to institute Positivity Corner and force us to say something nice about the team to start the show. We're not there yet, but I'll tell you a little something. Big shout out to San Diego FC and their supporters liaison, Big J, Jerry Jimenez. Got a text from Jerry yesterday. He proceeded to contact the San Diego Sockers, and San Diego FC bought 50 supporters tickets to Friday's championship game to give to Frontera SD members that want to come out. So way to go, San Diego FC, showing up and showing out, supporting the San Diego Sockers by supporting San Diego Sockers supporters and getting them into Front Wave Arena tomorrow night to create an unprecedented atmosphere for Game 2 between the Sockers and the Wave. Should you have waited until Monday? Don't go there! No. Let's hope they wrap it all up on Friday. But on Saturday, San Diego FC is back at home taking on Portland Timbers and hoping to snap a 4-game MLS losing streak. And of course, you can even go back a little bit further, can't you? Because you could mention 4-0 Toluca. You could mention 2 MLS games before that with leads that were conceded late. And you could say 7 matches winless, all competition for San Diego FC. This is the first time in Chromaniacs and SDFC history that Dusty Rhodes walks in that door in the first 10 minutes of the show. Hard times for San Diego FC. Hard times, I say, for this club. There's no question about it. But to keep it kind of on that tip, isn't this what was supposed to happen last year? Doesn't this feel like a credit card bill coming due in some ways, or a Cinderella thing? You know, you get the carriage, but it doesn't get to stay the carriage forever, because it felt like last year, outside of one similarly, but not quite exactly the same timed 3-match losing streak, it just felt like every single thing went SDFC's way last year. And every time they got to an obstacle, they hopped over it. And every time there was a controversial decision, they seemed to make the exact right choice, or it seemed to work out for them. The results lined up all the way through. They would win on the road constantly, like just win every game on the road, no problem. And now this year they're looking like a young team. They're inexperienced. Their defensive line has no depth. They're conceding goals in weird ways. They're losing on the road and looking bad in losing on the road. In other words, are we paying the price in year 2 for the glory of year 1?
I think it just seems like we're playing the kids that we thought we were going to play last year, and And this time it's not working out, right? It just Oswald Sue needs to get out of center back and be replaced with Monodua and Chris McVeigh, and have Luca Bombino out there. Um, the injury luck last year was extremely lucky. Like, we rarely had any injuries outside of Andres Reyes. I think Alex Alvarado got injured like mid-season, and then by that time it was already the summer transfer window. So it kind of, you got reinforcements anyway. Um, but this year's completely different. You're having a ton of injuries on the back line, and guys keep getting suspended on red cards. So it just it's just those two things that it keeps happening, and you're seeing the outcome of it. Or we don't have the depth for it, and you're seeing the results. It's just another winless game, another losing streak. It's just, and the weird thing is it's happening at the same time it did last year too. It's happening like around this mid-April time, just like last year, and then like around May was kind of when they turn it around. So maybe it happens again.
Here comes Downer Tony. Hey guys. Well, okay, yeah, I'll concede, right? Like, yes, this is something that should have potentially happened last year. You're kind of coming back and you're reverse engineering a preseason because you came in early and everything's catching up, and you do have these context/excuses to refer to, and the reality is that the depth for San Diego FC just isn't there on a health perspective. There are other things that you could potentially point to of like, well, maybe you shouldn't have let this person go. Maybe you shouldn't have let this other person go. Maybe you shouldn't have let this other person hang out and just enjoy a beautiful empty training field while the team is playing over in Texas, right? Like, that's still part of the discussion. This is the team that Mikey Varas and Tyler Heaps chose and selected to move forward. We've heard that there's been plenty of depth, that's not an excuse, but at the end of the day, I almost wish they would say it's that's the reason and the main excuse, because what we've seen is the fact that these players are not ready. Oswald Sue is definitely not ready to be taking these moments. He looks like a cone out there. He just looks like an afterthought. He gets shoved into position by Monodua on that goal, and it didn't work against Houston. And this is where it is potentially going to turn into, oh man, like maybe it is that bad, because St. Louis, first season, 4th place. Next season, 24th. Season after that, 25th. If we look at the sophomore slump season for St. Louis, their wins, draws, losses, they didn't have as many losses as San Diego FC did at this point in the year. Context, everything. But I'll be the first one to admit, I'm not too well versed in MLS in that time period to say, well, it was because of this, it was because of that. They had this going on. They had CONCACAF champions to come back to. They came back early, and they're very system dependent, and maybe they got figured out. I'm not too versed to be able to say that in that moment, but if you're going by trends, this is not a positive direction that this team is heading, even though we're being told by Mikey Varas, by the team, that okay, as soon as everybody comes up and as soon as everybody is able to be healthy, they're going to turn it around. And they started by saying yesterday, yes, loss, yes, another red card, but they played better. They are fixing some holes and they're moving in a positive direction. Sure. 0.01 is still technically more than 0. Sure. You're not going the other direction. I'll concede that. Another second half that you play better, but again, it wasn't a pity second half by the teams that have been facing San Diego FC, where it's like, okay, it's pretty bad. Like it's that Simpsons meme of he's already dead. Like, no, it's okay. Like, this was a better performance. I don't know. I'll leave you guys with that. Like, with St. Louis City SC was also trending in that direction. But is this a San Diego City FC, St. Louis City SC situation? Or is this system able to go ahead and once again break out of the norm of the sophomore slump and be able to put something together and potentially make the playoffs?
Make the playoffs is a decision for far down the line and after the World Cup. And I think that there were a number of times, and we talked about this year, that we thought that if they dropped down to a 6th, 7th place, sneak into the playoffs, or you're in the play-in game, to get in on the Western Conference, that wouldn't be the most shocking of results. Those were things we were saying, back in January, when we were looking at a team coming off a miracle first season and going into their second year and wondering about what storylines would happen. And I don't know if one day, years down the road with Truth Serum, Mikey Varas and Tyler Heaps would say, what really hurt us was at the start of 2026 when we went out and we beat Pumas and then we slaughtered Montreal 5-0 on opening day, and we were undefeated in our first 5 games, and we beat Toluca with 10 men. And all of a sudden we set this expectation that San Diego FC is actually one of the top teams in North America. This is one of the best sides. And then we started changing our perception to, no, they're going to always handle bad teams. They're going to always find solutions and win on the road. And I remember saying to you guys, multiple times, as a guy who's come out of baseball for so many years, soccer's the second most random sport in the world to baseball. Weird things happen, inexplicable things happen all the time that doesn't necessarily even reflect on the strength of your club. It can just be, this was our time to suffer. This was our time to struggle. So all of that is a preamble to get back to what you were saying, Tony. I do think that the Houston 1-0 game, within the context of 2 days rest, staying on the road, second of 3 games within a week's period of time, that they did settle things down somewhat. They didn't get blown out. But you guys did the post-match show after RSL. The RSL game was an embarrassment. And honestly, the San Jose game before that was an embarrassment. The team has been getting outclassed and kind of annihilated, in those games. So at least they stayed in it. At least it was respectable 1-0. But clearly, from a form standpoint, this is the lowest we've ever been with SDFC, so it's a matter of climbing out of this hole incrementally.
Yeah, I think so. I'm seeing a lot of like sophomore slump talk. I don't think we're there yet, especially if San Diego wins on Saturday. It's going to be the exact same record, exact same points as last year in the first 10 league games. So it's just right now they're just hitting a really hard time. And I think they're, especially after RSL, and then as Mikey put it too, he thought that Houston was better, or not in the Houston game. That he thought San Diego FC was playing a little bit better, and I think they're definitely showing signs that they're competing a lot more in the second half. But you got to show that early on. You got to have that mentality like from the start. And I think you're bringing up the lineup, Tony. Yeah, it's hard to put a lineup out there with Alex Mighton and be like, yeah, this is going to be our most competitive, our best lineup that we can put out there. Like, I don't believe that when you put Alex Mighton out there. He can do things, he could dribble, but then he loses the ball. And then he also, another thing that he can't do, he can't really connect on passes going into the box. I don't think he did that at all successfully yesterday. So you got to put your best 11 out there.
And the way that Mikey ordered this, I think, doesn't necessarily reflect here on the lineup sheet, because Dua was playing a little bit more on the left side. You did see Chris McVeigh over on the right side, and or center mid, another center back, but they transitioned into a 3-back line constantly in this game because of necessity, right? You definitely need to have the manpower to have a four line in the back, but Sue is just such a liability that essentially you have to pair him up with somebody and utilize another person in there. So it's essentially like playing with the red card already. But at the end of the day, you have this style and you're surviving and you're not thriving in this moment. Mighton is a decision where I think that he earned that start the last game against RSL as he came in the second half and really showed a little bit more offense and a little bit more spark than what's my way? Bryce Duke.
Morgan.
Bryce
Bryce
Duke.
Duke. Yeah.
It's Bryce Duke. But in the midfield again, that's your starting midfield. You look up top, Lewis, Morgan, Dreyer. Maybe you want Invarson in there for sure. He's not necessarily 100% healthy. That's why he's on the bench and not starting, not necessarily because of anything else, but he isn't able to go a full 90 right now. Once again, ideally, sure, Lewis Morgan on the left, but now you have 2 out of the 3 facets in the game where you should be able to connect something. You should be able to have something created, at least in a dangerous manner. How many shots yesterday, Alex?
It was like, total was 9, but 1 on target.
1 on target.
1 on target.
It was bad.
That's the one that matters. I mean, you can shoot from halfway and it's going to go to the corner flag, and that's technically a shot. That's the one that matters. And with a team of, with the experience that you have, again, going back to that back line, you have McVeigh, you have Dua, starters. Verhoeven, starter, because who else do you have on that right back situation? You don't have Bombino. Sure, that's the big gap right there. Is Pellegrino definitely that game changer? He wasn't necessarily that game changer, but this is closer to the starting 11 that you would have with everybody healthy. And then the players that are starting that shouldn't are the players that you resort to in the 60th, 70th minute to go ahead and bolster up the squad when you need that, when everybody's kind of tired. But it doesn't seem like it. It does seem like everybody is out. Everybody is injured, which there are several players that are injured. You do get Alvarado back in this match, which is, I guess, silver lining. But it's just tough being able to see a team that knows how to control the game just not be able to do that. And I look over to that left wing, and man, it's frustrating seeing Dreyer just not be able to be Dreyer.
I have a question about that lineup real quick, Craig. And this is something that we've seen before. I think it was the second game against Toluca where I suggested like a back 3 or a back 5, and they were essentially playing that style on the attack, like back 3, back 5 when they were defending. But why do you mask it? Why don't you just put out like a good formation? Because essentially they were playing like with a 3-5-2, I think. Yeah, with Dreyer and Morgan up front. So why not put the personnel necessary to actually do that? Where it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have Sue, McVeigh, and Dua back, and then have a little bit more midfield, players up front. Instead, they're trying to mask it, and they're putting a 4-man back line with 3 midfielders. It's like, we know what you're doing. Just put the guys in there to do it.
What personnel change though would you make in order to more accurately reflect the lineup as you're describing? Because if someone is acting as a floater or a false midfielder, I mean, it's just semantics whether you're 3-3-4 or whether you're 3-5-2, right? I mean, your actual gameplay is showing it. So who would be the player that would make that more concrete in your opinion?
I think Vasquez for Mighton could have been better. I think that would have been a little bit better. I think that's one. I'm thinking about the other side, but I think right now, I think Godoy is just a step off, and you could be playing Soma a little bit more if you're trying, if you're gonna do the thing that we saw, like in the actual formation that they were playing out, then actually put the players out there for it. But I think on the other side, I would have switched Godoy and Soma.
To give you the idea of the state of things, Craig, the fact that Alex said put Soma out there should tell you where SanDiego.FC is right now.
Right?
Yeah. Godoy hasn't really been playing that well, and that's also a problem.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it was something I kind of had in my own mental notebook, but I didn't know if it was the right time to mention, which I just thought that Anibal Godoy hasn't really honestly brought a lot to the pitch this year. I don't think he's been that dynamic as a defensive stopper. I don't think he's brought the bite that they expected from him in year one, the nastiness. And frankly, his offense, what offense? Is passing, what passing? What's been happening with Anibal Godoy overall? This cat could be completely mentally locked into Panama's World Cup affairs coming up and just looking to stay healthy and just keep his legs under him in club play before he gets to what he really cares about in 2026. And look, that's not to disparage Anibal Godoy. There's a lot of players who would be in the exact same situation, playing for their country and caring more about that than what's happening in April with their club. But I just, Tony, I think it's interesting that Alex brought that up, because I have noted as well that Godoy has not been really much of anything this year.
I think it was in the last SanDiego.FC home game where I actually brought up earlier in that first half where Godoy was just non-existent. But once they started getting physical with him, once they started poking and prodding him, he was able to react and say, no, okay, we're going to play fire with fire. Let's play fire with fire. And we saw some of the best that we've seen Godoy as of recently turn on right there. But you don't need that in those moments. You shouldn't need that sort of inspiration. And in that little highlight that we were showing here, make sure you check out the YouTube version as well. Anibal is just kind of lost. And a couple minutes later, 11th minute, you just kind of see him marauding that area and watching the play develop. Like that moment right here where the possession is lost, Godoy needs to be engaged and start going. He's flat-footed. He's just kind of watching. He should have been able to cut off that pass, because that this backline is struggling to get the ball out. So you need to go ahead and come in there. And that's when Yepe comes in there. That's when Yepe exerts a little bit more. He loses his positioning where he's supposed to be on the field. And then it's harder to develop out of the midfield. And that's why your front three and your midfield isn't as cohesive as it is, because you're too busy being a fireman, and everybody loves being a fireman in the back line, but no connection is happening from there because not everybody's engaged. And it's going to be interesting to have to that point and then listen to what Mikey Varas says in the post-match about the work rate of his players that he has right now.
Well, should this be the time we get to that? I mean, I feel like it's a natural spot. We could hear what Mikey had to say. And Varas was the only person made available, right, Tony, by SDFC to the press yesterday?
Correct. No players were made available. It was only Mikey Varas, and a good old pal Chiva took charge of that because we were busy, talking about the other red card. Game.
Yeah, we were talking about Soccers at that point. Yeah.
All right. And I think I know you like longer clips, Craig. Is it okay if I just play it through?
Play it. Let's play it.
All right. Cool. Here we go. Mikey Varas.
We can start with questions from Alejandro.
Sorry, just a moment. We're going to start off with just Mikey's thoughts on the match tonight, and then we'll go into questions.
Yeah, first thought is obviously very disappointed about the result, because we're in a tough moment right now, and there's no hiding from that. That's my responsibility. But what I would say is I like this game from a playing perspective. I think we played a very mature game, very stable game. We dominated a lot of the game, played away from home on 2 days rest and put them very deep. We didn't concede very many chances. They took the chance that they got. This is football. We know that we can create a little bit more, but at the end of the day, I think it was a very stable performance and it was a step in the right direction. So we're going to take that, and we're going to make sure that we don't take any steps back, because we need to keep taking steps in the right direction, because ultimately we're here to win games.
Thank you, Mikey. Alejandro, if you have a question, go ahead.
Yeah, Mikey, this makes it 4 straight losses for the team, and you're talking about you being responsible for the performance and what's going on right now. What is it that you look at when it comes to your control moving forward, analyzing the last couple of results?
Will you rephrase that? Just what do you mean by control?
Yeah, like when it comes to either tactics or anything, when you reference that you're responsible for it.
I reference that because I'm the leader of the group, and it's my job to set conditions for the team to be successful. And if we don't win, I'm the first one to put my hand up.
And then with the results as well, there are some wins like Alvarado getting to come back and get minutes. How big is it for players like that suffer a very severe injury to be able to come back again and get some minutes?
It's huge. We got guys coming back. There's a disappointed feeling, but I think I said 3 games ago, no silver linings in that one. And this one, there is. We got guys coming back. The team is starting to play better, starting to not give up the big chances that we were giving up. And we're headed in the right direction. And what I would say is we're going to be there when it counts. And right now we're going through some growing pains. We have a very young roster. We've dealt with a lot of like tough injury situation. We've also dealt with some weird calls from the referee. Also some very unlucky plays. It's very unlucky that Pele clips this guy and we end up with another red card. It's just the moment that we're in. And the most important thing is that we are calm inside, but we're also taking responsibility and making sure that we're moving in the right direction. And I would say the silver lining is that we're starting to play better. We're getting more players back, and the group is very, very hungry to get back to our best.
And can you talk a little bit about Manu Dua adapting to another position and playing at the left back row? I'm curious what your thoughts on his performance were tonight.
I thought Manu had a strong performance, and I think the whole team did. Now, though, it's about having those strong moments every single second of the game, because ultimately Houston didn't create very much at all, and we get caught a little bit flat-footed on a ball in behind and not reading that situation well, and out of nothing we're down 0-1, and that's not on Manu. That's not on Manu. That's a team thing. That's a Mikey thing first. But the most important message that I'm trying to deliver here is that his performance was strong, the team's performance was strong, but now it's about the little details, having every single moment buttoned up. Don't not back press one time. Don't be caught ball watching one time. Challenge yourself over and over, action on action, to make the right play. Whether you're able to make the play or the other opponent makes a better play than you, that's okay. That's normal. That's out of our control because you also play against someone else. But let's make sure that we are always making the play we're supposed to make, and then we do it to the best of our abilities.
And what do you think are some of the things on the offensive side that the team needs to improve on in creating more chances or just being more clinical on goal?
From the offensive standpoint, we create a lot as a team, and we've scored a lot of goals this year. You know, it was more this year, this game specifically, I asked them to stabilize the game, and they did that really well. They did exactly what I asked them to do. The consequence of that was we were a little bit less vertical than we've been in the past, and we're still finding our rhythm. You know, everybody knows who we are when we're at our best and the ball is flying. And there were little sparks of it today, which is a really good sign, but we still haven't quite found it yet. The most important thing is that we're buttoning up all the phases of play, making sure that we're making the plays and the responses to plays that we're supposed to make in every single situation, because we know when our rhythm comes back and that little touch and that little connection comes back, we're going to be able to take advantage of that moment and really start to fly.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Mikey, and then
Literally, Chief, it was the only reporter that showed up for an MLS post-match press conference.
100%.
Yep.
And it would have been 2, but you know, we were busy.
Right.
But one outlet essentially.
NBC couldn't
Yeah.
throw Darnay on there. CBS couldn't get a guy to lock in on a Wednesday night for 10 minutes.
Hey, Greg, that's MLS for
And
you.
just to-
They don't do that. Yeah, I mean, living in the Bay Area, you got very little coverage of the San Jose Earthquakes, even, you know, during a playoff run or, you know, whenever. It's just how it is. And
Well,
that's why we're here. That's why we're here covering.
literally why we are having success as a podcast.
Yep.
Because we're willing to do the work.
Yes.
And most of San Diego media is like, huh? What? Oh, do they play? Oh, okay. Are they good? Are they bad? I don't know. All right. Well, decent job there by Chiva. I could feel the chill
Mhm.
of Mikey and Chiva relationship status cold.
Yeah.
Mikey, not Chiva's biggest fan. You can hear it in these tiny little moments, like the slightest bit of passive aggression. I thought we played great.
Mhm.
Yeah, just like is he really going to ask a Chucky question tomorrow at training?
He is going to.
Is this now a Chiva thing where he wants to be the bad guy? Like, I'm gonna be Trent Krim. I'm gonna be the tough reporter that's hard on you.
I think so, and I think that it suits him well because these are things that are. Look, what else are you gonna ask? And even he was nice about it too. Hey, Mano Dua had a great performance, like, right, guys? And he's like, yes, but the whole team had a great performance. However, in these moments, everybody has to play every single play. Everybody has to be locked and engaged. And there's one person in this goal that, people are looking at Oswald Sue as the ball travels in between two center backs, like left back, and eternity in front of goal. What's happening? Just laying it off, boom. But who is barely coming back? That's Alex Mighton. Look at Alex Mighton's positioning when that pass happens. Very passive. Again, in the moment at the half circle, like, somebody please push up, like, just go. You can on the reverse angle, you see Mano Dua like pushing Sue to the side, to the left, seeing that there's somebody bombing it inside of the box, and there's no coverage, there's no anything. And so it's these moments that I think Mikey's talking about that should have been defended. You press every single time. You have to go. Yes, you're the left winger, but in this style, you have to be the one that's not walking towards the action. Look at Mighton. He's just walking. And then he gets
got beat.
taken advantage of. Still, the center backs and three defenders cannot just allow one dude with that much amount of space and no help get all the time in the world. At least foul him.
Right.
At the very minimum, foul him. Bring him down. Do something.
Get right up in his cleats.
Mm-hmm.
Force him to make a pass that's not waiting for the runner to get into the box. Force him to pass it back. An engaged defensive action. But boy, right now, sad to say, Oswald Sue is the worst player in SDFC history. And it's a very, very, very short history. So it's nothing to be too, like, okay, come up with the one who's worse, Tony. Tell me who's worse.
Andre Reyes.
Oh,
See, you thought I was going to do it with Tomas Angel, but Tomas Angel gave the people joy in an America friendly. He assisted in the first game with, honestly, one of the most beautiful assists I've ever seen in person. Historically, it's Reyes, just the amount he played to red card ratio. Honestly, when Reyes comes back, he's going to fit right in because of that.
Yes, he's gonna love it here. He's gonna be like, oh, everyone gets red cards here. I'm all for it. Man, it's funny. The thing about Mikey saying they created chances is like a little funny to me when they couldn't get the ball to their number 9 at all. Like, if you look at any type of passing maps, Morgan got the least amount of passes like received. I think he got 11 touches, just a few touches in the box, and that was it. I mean, and how are you going to say we're creating chances when your number 9 wasn't? And granted, he had to go up against 2 mountain men of center backs. These guys were listed as 6'3" and 6'6", and he's a small dude, so he wasn't the only. And I can tell he's not 100% just yet either. Like, he runs a little funny to me. He isn't a speedy guy at all, so he has to figure out a different way to try to beat those guys. But yeah, he was non-existent. I mean, I saw it. It's all over every other heat map and pass map I've seen. He just wasn't there. Like he wasn't. Yeah, you were down 10 men already.
You want in the box touches? Here's one. Good play, Godoy, Yepe. First time there.
My,
Bum, bum.
I wish it would have gone to anybody else.
I hope he's okay, but I don't know if anything actually happened to him.
Oh man,
He stayed down, and it's one of those just like, oh boy, like, but second half they just weren't there, and again, like, who do you rely on? And this is what invites this narrative of that position. Who would have scored that? You want me to tell you who? Maybe Amal Pellegrino.
Yeah.
But he's not there. And
Sure.
the other guy
he's not going to be there. He's not going to be there on Saturday.
not going to be there.
I guess that's the only thing we haven't talked about is that red card.
Yeah. Look, in this situation, I do agree with Mikey. I mean, it's not, you're not supposed to do that. So to say it's unlucky, it's kind of unlucky. It's unlucky that the guy is there at the exact same time and that it all kind of lines up, a perfect negative for you. But that's a super risky, unnecessary play. Yeah. Look, it's 1-0. Pele calls for the ball. So I think that's important. Pele called for the ball. The ball was delivered to him. So he's trying to bring it down because he asked for that pass. So he feels the responsibility to bring down that pass. But, point of fact, you're doing that in a situation where someone else is going up for the ball. And you've got legs, two of the longest legs in MLS. So it's a potential for danger. Just wild situation. But Pele out. And Carson will be back in, I guess.
One thing that I'll say about that particular play is that this is the way that they were playing in this moment. It was not necessarily uncharted territory, but again, by the SDFC book, what happens in the situation with the Esparza with the ball in the midfield? He looks to his left and starts driving. The ball will get to you, Pele. The ball will get to you. It's going to take 3 or 4 extra shots. And this is kind of the desperation of where San Diego FC is going because they broke down their style of play. They were playing tiki-taka here and there because they're talented individuals and can still connect that way. But this is essentially leaving that right to dream style. Like, keep the ball on the ground. You go and do something different. And again, you've done this other times, but that's just not a play that happens for San Diego FC. Those conditions aren't necessarily set for San Diego FC to be in that role. Pele, yeah, you got to know, man. You got to be positionally aware of everything, and yeah, make contact with the head. We'll see. It's a red. Like the guy you hit sees red, you see red. That's kind of the exchange right there. But it's those plays where I'm just like, okay, well, where is the San Diego FC style? Right? Are they really trying to get these layers in and play differently and not just be this pass, trying to walk it in? Do they have some sort of dynamic aspects? Or is this just because their legs are tired? And when your legs are tired, you start shooting from everywhere. It's just desperation moments. And, again, Yepe, dude's tired. Like, I'm Bombino goes down, and we'll get more information tomorrow during media availability, but it has to do with these legs and the players that are being not just shown red, but being redlined themselves.
And Yepe looked completely drenched. I don't know if it was like humidity in Houston, but he looked absolutely just full of sweat. And I remember, I think you talked to us about this last year, Tony. These Danes, they don't like the heat at all. They like the cooler temperatures, and maybe that just has some sort of effect on them too. It's just they're not used to it. And the last year, right towards the end of the season, it cooled down. They started playing better. They played amazing at Portland last year.
Rain.
I think they like those conditions, and like they're just not used to the Southern California weather and the heat in Houston and Texas.
The first 3 people in history to all get together in a car in a cab ride and be like, we should have signed in Columbus. We'd be so much colder and happier here.
But they like the tans, don't they?
Yeah.
Really quick before we move on from this, just for you, Craig, does this seem familiar to you?
Mm.
Does this place seem familiar to you?
Oh dear.
Someone got wrestled down.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
It's
Where's
a
your red-
Cesar play.
There's the red card.
But they also
Get
got
out
a
the
red.
red.
For that, so.
They also got a red. Yeah.
Indoor,
Okay.
outdoor, yeah, it's a red.
It's a red.
If you fall and you kick your defender in the nuts because because he took you down, you get a red card. That's just seems like soccer professionals should know that, but apparently still a lesson being learned day by day, especially on Wednesday, being learned multiple times in multiple incarnations of the sport. Well, look, our buddy Terrible SDFC Memes has been saying it on his what he charitably describes as post-game shows by an idiot on his Instagram, but he's now saying it every single week, which is San Diego FC needs a playmaker. They need a playmaker. They need a playmaker. And, Mikey, bless him, he has to control the room he's in. He can't be stepping up to the mic and going, you know what, we're missing guys. We need more. We don't have enough. He can't go out there and say that. He can say that once the door closes, once Chiva logs off the Zoom and no one's there. He can say whatever he wants. But when he's facing forward, he has to say, we'll be better if we do the little things better. We'll be better if we pay attention to every detail. But if you really kind of parse his words there, when he's saying we're good enough to lose 1-0 right now, but in order to get to a draw or a win, we have to play perfect. That's what he's saying. Make every press, make every move, ball watch never in 90 minutes, do every action correctly. We need to do this. That's a tacit, quiet admission without actually saying it, that you just don't have enough right now to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's a couple people in the building that were there for LAFC's second season. Tom Penn, the other guy is Pablo Cisniega, and they also, when I was looking at the roster earlier today, they had Carlos Vela, who went crazy that year, just absolutely 30 plus goals and over 40 goal contributions. But they were playing with a young-ish team. I mean, I remember what Diego Rossi was part of that team. He was a designated player, but he was 21 years old. They had like probably like half the starting 11 was probably 25 and under. So it's not like they went out and said, we're going to sign the next big guy out from Europe and, go out there and win it. They didn't win a championship that year. They lost in the conference final, but they were putting it all together. And I think almost something similar can happen here. It's just about getting, the right pieces in. I don't think it's going to be like a big name player that's coming in, but it's going to be someone that's going to contribute and start possibly in the midfield. But and I think that's probably what Tom Penn and he's telling the rest of the marketing and anybody else in that front office department, and being like, hey, this is what I saw at LAFC in our second year. We had a bunch of young players, but we also had some veterans, and it was a good mix. And they went out and their goal contribution or their goal differential was ridiculous that year. I think it was like plus 40 something, and had the best record in the league. And can that happen here? It could probably happen in the second half. We could probably be a good second half team. once the World Cup, is over. But we just have to make it to the break, and I think hopefully just Tyler Heap starts cooking. He fills out those under 22 spots. He fills out another designated player spot, and we see a rejuvenated team.
But part of my ignorance, but I think according to Mikey and the team, they're already a great second half team, and that's all they have right now. Except they let all the goals in the first half, and second half is great. They haven't conceded in a while, and when they do, like it's they even score in the second half. But it's funny you also mentioned Tom Penn because today actually from a reliable but unexpected source, Tom Penn, CEO, going out, talking to the community, engaging with socialites and different sorts of symposiums, address the fact that they're not doing well right now. So he knows, and how that's reflecting on the attendance as well. They know the entire marketing aspect is kind of in flux, not just because you lose such a big star and you can say, okay, maybe that's 1,000, 2,000, but the team itself is not exciting. The team itself isn't something to look forward to. And at least right now, right? You can go and that's part of the trip. That's part of the development. That's part of the fan side of things of in las buenas y las malas, and the good times and the bad times, just you're going to be there for the team, right? But it's just interesting. It's also interesting that they're still talking and they're in the realms of loud, not proud. Proud, not loud. So that's still making it waves around 2026 San Diego FC talk. But is it really going to take one player? And I think that there's an over reliance right now, and crossing of fingers of once everybody's healthy, everything's going to be fine, guys. Once these players come back, once Bombino comes back, this back line changes because Pellegrino's the one that got the red card, not a defender for San Diego FC, thankfully. But is that connection going to be worth it? Whoever you do bring, guess what? There's going to be growing pains because it's such a systematic team that you can't just throw anybody in there and expect them to thrive. Unless you throw a great, player like an Honors Dreyer, who's just going to understand the game, then the system, and be able to kind of come in and out of both of those. But I think that's the key. You need to get Honors Dreyer engaged. Honors is not engaged. He's not necessarily the focal point of where they're going to. Should they go over a little bit more and just have him figure it out? Well, you're throwing it over to the left and telling him, Mike, figure it out. Do something. And he is, but that talent just isn't there. And you're running out of outlets. And you're going to face a Portland team that if you lose at home here today or on Saturday, that's going to once again put the pressure on, like, okay, what's the excuse now? Are you really going to say the same thing 5 weeks in a row? That it's poor refereeing calls, poor this. You know the conditions of the season. You know what league you're playing. Play and adapt to it, because clearly everybody else has adapted to you.
I think that's the fairest point. I'm not honestly expecting San Diego FC to say anything differently than what they're saying. I expect them to say what they're going to say every step of the way. And when you talk about attendance, I think it's a triple whammy. And I think, frankly, that the run of poor play is a distant third on the list. I think the number one thing that's hurting SDFC is it's the second year. This isn't new anymore. Everyone who needed to go out to see a game, like 90% of them made it out to see that game. You get back the people who see a game and go, I have to come back for more. But that's not everybody. A lot of people go out, see a game and went, that was okay. Parking was too expensive. What did we pay for that, honey? Blah, 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 blah. And like, if it didn't light your fire, then you've done it. You've gone to a game, you've seen it, you've done it. You don't need to go back. So cultivating rampant casuals, which San Diego is filled with, and it's a great thing when you start a team, right? All the rampant casuals will come out. When you make it an event and a vibe because it's doing so well last year, then you get the other thing that San Diego's full of, which is bandwagon sports fans. And I always say that with some level of affection. There's a lot of people in San Diego that very casually follow sports, very casually follow sports. But then when the team is there on the edge and they're about to enter the playoffs or they're about to get into a thing, everybody's there, everybody's on, and they jump on the bandwagon. So you don't get a bandwagon in the second year because you're nowhere near the end yet. All your rampant casuals have already been satisfied. You don't have the population in town to go find another season subset of a whole group of other rampant casuals that are like, oh, I never went to see a game. So that's number one with a bullet. Then I think number two would be if you did lose 1,000 or 2,000 Mexican nationals who love Chucky Lozano and worship him and wear his jersey and wear his hat and wear his scarf. And I saw a lot of them on the trolley last year, right? And I'm not seeing that level this year anecdotally, and unfair on my part, but nonetheless, so that would be like 2 for me. And then 3 is okay for the casual who did dip their toe in and then they're like, oh wait, this team isn't as good this year. That could have a little bit of an effect. I guess my last question, it's an honest one because supporter price didn't go up. Did the tickets go up at SDFC this year?
Yeah, I think so. Just buying regular season tickets, I think those prices jumped from, I think the cheapest was like around $40-ish. Now they're like over $50, $55. So like maybe like a $15 difference. Which is, yeah, I mean, if you're a casual and you're just looking for tickets, you're going straight to the source first, and you're probably not liking what you're seeing, and then look at the secondary market and still not liking what you're seeing. So you're just like, nope, I'm out. I'm not going to a game. But yeah, tickets did go up, and that's why the team came up with like a mini plan. They're probably going to try some other things, right, to try to group tickets together so you can go catch the last few games of the season or something like that if this continues on. But I don't see a decrease in price anytime soon. So I think it is what it is at this point.
Well, that's a decent number of tickets available for Saturday, as Tony is showing the Ticketmaster.
And that's a resale ticket for $40. So someone's probably taken a little bit of a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, plenty of good seats available for Saturday night for SDFC and Portland Timbers. And guys, at the end of last season, we definitely got sick of seeing the Portland Timbers when we saw them 4 games in a row. From the last game of the regular season through the first round of the playoffs. They were the last team that we ever played in our original MLS schedule, and then all of a sudden they became the team that we played all the time. So Saturday at 6:30, San Diego FC, Portland Timbers. And the question I have for you, and then we can get into any previous stuff that you've ginned up, Alex, but I put it in our agenda, is very simple. What could SDFC do now? What lineup change? What tactic change? Is it as simple as just play better? As Mikey said, tighten up, no mistakes. But what could SDFC do today, now, to make Saturday better?
Right now, I think that you got to take Sue out, and you're hoping that Ian Pilcher is good to go and can play a little bit longer. I think that'd be a positive change for the group, and I'm pretty sure he could play left back if Bobino's not healthy, or right back. But I think that'd be a change that can have just a really good feeling across the board. So that's my number one.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time we're going to see Mano Dua and Chris McVeigh in their natural positions. More than likely, Verhoeven has played in the left back position. Ian Pilcher has played in the right back position, much like, Chris McVeigh has as well in the right back position. But, I think you just need to start patching things up. And I think that's what Mikey said, that, look, it is a process. Like, they are playing better and the pieces are starting to slowly come in, but you take your victories where you can and you start playing your best team wherever in their positions as much as possible. And I think starting with that, I'll counter it with another question. What about Duran? Like, that's
He can stay.
What about
It's
Duran? I
fine.
don't want Mom to be commenting on the show derisively. I think we've been probably a pro Duran podcast, especially Tony, for from the very beginning. I was certainly a little more skeptical when they started him the second time. After the first time was cool, and I was like, oh, the second, whoa, what's going on here? I'll simply submit the same thing I said last time, which is that when you've got a team that is drowning in inexperience, sometimes, even if he's not necessarily demonstrably better than the person he replaces, sometimes it's just a chemistry thing. Sometimes it's just a mentality thing, that you have a little more confidence, that the veteran has himself a little more confidence in his movements, his actions, and his abilities. I don't think Duran played poorly on Wednesday. I don't think you bench him because of Wednesday, but you absolutely could have benched him after RSL, and I don't think anybody would have been upset, including Mama Farie, if Dos Santos played on Wednesday night. And they said, you know what, kid, take a step back, watch the game, let it slow down for you. We're going to get you back in there really soon. I guess the way I'd really respond to that is that Mikey from day one basically has been very outspoken about this is a meritocracy. And if you're playing outstanding, you keep your job. But if you're playing anywhere from above average to slightly below average, your job is at jeopardy for someone playing better. And I kind of feel that unless the extenuating circumstances have been such that there was never a secondary option to Duran the last 6 weeks, they could tell me that. They could say CJ was never an option. The last 6 weeks, he was never actually available to play. He was never playing at a level that we felt confident in. So when we were up in the coach's office, we felt like we had Duran, Pablo's hurt, we have nobody else. We're going to play Duran. But unless that's the case, it feels to me, not saying it substantively, I'm saying it emotionally, it feels to me that Duran has gotten a pass week after week after week, while Mikey's, unless you're great, you're replaceable. It feels like that's wavered a little bit in the goalkeeping circumstance.
Yeah, I think that's all true. It just has to mean that CJ is not 100%. He's not ready to really be out there and look. I've had a head injury during a sporting event. It does change you. It does. It just you don't feel right. The first couple times when you're out there, it does change you a little bit. It changes how you react with everybody else too. You're kind of super aware of everything now, and it's probably just in his head. So I don't know if Mikey Varas is just confident to put CJ out there at the moment. So I think that's probably the only reason why we've been seeing Farie out against everybody. Which I feel more confident with Farie with Chris McVeigh and Mounadua out there. So I don't mind him playing, starting again on Saturday.
And I think that's Farie's last stand, or for this stint. If CJ is, as Mikey said last week, in media availability, competing for that first spot, and he's tentatively on the way back to be the starter once again, the last excuse that you can have for Duran Ferree or opportunity is saying, all right, you haven't had a chance to play with Mano Dua and Chris McVeigh. Those two are your outlets with the foot, and those two are your safety blanket, and they also know how to go ahead and play with you. So once that triumvirate is complete, then we'll see if moving forward, this play style is able to fix itself. Because again, looking at the midfield, looking at the offense, the play style should be flawless, or as flawless as can be, with an Alex Mighton who knows how to play the right to dream style. Lewis Morgan, who's a natural 9, sure, he can maybe not necessarily fit into the style, but everywhere else, you're back to that style. And the style is definitely hurting because you're suffering in the back, because you're not able to create in the back. And so now you have the context of McVeigh, Dua, Ferree. Sure, it's not Bombino. It's Verhoeven. He should still be able to hold his own. Now do we see that creation? Now do we see the connection from the back line to the midfield to the offense? And then you start to see those details start to come back up. But if it's McVeigh and Dua, and we see another match where Duran just makes a mistake, or it's just some sort of fumble in that way, where the common denominator is the goalkeeper, then I think, you know, it'd be time if CJ was to be ready. But yeah, he wasn't necessarily ready, and isn't necessarily showing the best at training either.
Leaves us where we are, which is, you know, kind of in a holding pattern. So, you know, I hope Duran has a great game on Saturday. I do expect him to play. I expect him to keep playing. And you know, frankly, if they, again, I'm mostly reacting to the commentary from the year before by the organization. When you say stuff like, it's so easy, isn't it? When everything's riding high, when it's your first year, when you can make bold proclamations. It's almost like a politician out on, you know, before they've been elected. You know, well, we're going to do this, and our platform is this, and we're going to stand on that. And then you get to the point where you actually have to stand on it. And you're like, well, wait a second, but I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to bench Duran for a guy who might not be completely ready, because I want to stay strong to my, you know, commitment to excellence standards. And because of that, quite honestly, if tomorrow, under pressure from the Howard Cosell of San Diego sports media, you know, Chiva, if Mikey, in between bristling and eye daggers, just blurted it out and said, no, Chiva, Duran's our starter the whole year. Duran is the future of SDFC. And I don't care if he gives up 4 goals. I don't care if he passes the ball into his own net. I don't care if, you know, he lights his hair on fire and it sets the onion bag behind him, you know, ablaze. He's going to start the next game, and he's going to start the game after that, and the game after that, because 2 years from now, he's going to be an Elite 11 goalkeeper. He's going to be top of the league level. We believe in his talent. We believe in what he can do. And whatever growing pains we have to suffer through this year to get to that promised land, we're going to suffer those growing pains, because we're going to get there at the end. And Duran's going to be one of the best goalkeepers in all of North America when all is said and done. It's an unimpeachable comment, right? If you just come out and you say, results be damned, we're going to ride with Duran, and we're going to ride whether we lose every game the rest of the year or whether we win every game or draw every game the rest of the year. We're riding with Duran. We believe in him. The two guys, we signed them both to contract extensions. We signed them, we signed them both to multi-year contract extensions. But that's Tyler's fault. That's not my fault. I'm Mikey. We're riding with Duran. Shit, guys, I'd appreciate that over, you know, well, CJ's fighting for playing time, and, you know, Pablo's a step away, and everyone is held to the same standard here, and nobody wants to win more than we do. Like, nah, just tell it the way it is. I'll back you, mate. I'll back you. If you say it's Duran, sink or swim, then we all know to stop asking. It won't be CJ, so stop asking. You know, like, okay, we'll all settle down and get in line. But I think we're comparing past statements to current placements and going, does this exactly jibe? Probably not, but that's the way things go.
So what you were saying is that last year was some of this?
Oh man,
uh,
little
yes,
bit. Did you
defeated.
just make that right now, or did you have
Yeah,
that?
like literally right now.
Okay,
Like,
you just right
Oh,
now.
nice.
Okay. Wow.
that'd be weird if I had it, right? Like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
just
like
waiting
you
for
used
that.
it in 2 balls, and I didn't see that episode. Like maybe it's very, very possible. Very possible. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. What else should we know about Portland? Is there anything new we need to know about Portland, Alex?
Oh man, they're going through it. They're just not a great team. That's why I believe SanDiego.FC can get 3 points, especially at home. Um, uh, Portland has a -7 goal differential. That is second lowest in the conference. And if you want to know their away record, it's not great. They haven't won a game away in 2026. They haven't won a game since July of last year against LAFC. So this
Wow.
is a bad road team. And we saw that last year in the playoffs. They came here, got beat twice, got knocked off out of the playoffs. So we'll probably going to see the same thing. I really think that this time around, unless Neville wants to play around and play with a back five or something, I think we're gonna get the second or no, the home, the away playoff game that we saw in Portland, where they were high pressing, they came out on top. Um, I think that's the type of game because that's the type of strategy almost every team has been using against SanDiego.FC. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's what we're getting at a Portland. And the other thing is, public enemy number one, Christopher Velde is back to try to haunt SanDiego.FC again. He had a pretty decent playoff run last year, and he was physical. He's a big guy. Uses his speed and he likes to shoot. So right now he has 3 goals already and leads Portland, and he's going to try to be that guy again and try to get to the SanDiego.FC back line. So it's not a different team that we saw from last year. It's a lot of the same, but they haven't really improved a whole lot. They haven't really made any big additions, basically because they can't. They're out of GAM. That's the other thing about GAM. You can't just lose it. You kind of need it. So it should be a 3-point game. I mean, a 3-point win for SanDiego.FC on Saturday.
Baby steps. I think if you get a tie and you get a positive numberage somewhere, I think you go with that right now. Should they win? Sure. They really should. And it's very much a similar situation in terms of personnel, right? Switch one Corey Baird for a Lewis Morgan. Pele's kind of came into form here. And in the back line, you had to resort to Ian Pilcher in some of these matches. But what kind of I think about is, don't be the one. And I always say this in any soccer's wave, whatever, like, just don't be the reason why somebody turns their life around. Don't be that team that, they figured it out in Snapdragon in San Diego in this game in April, and boom, Portland started winning on the road. Something clicked. Don't give the reason for that. Also, if I was a betting person and you told me, hey, SanDiego.FC is going to get 1 red card somewhere, I wouldn't think in wherever it happened, it would be this match, because they're just so tired of each other. There's just history. There's history there. This is the team that knocked you out. You're going to come in and have that chip on your shoulder. And this is where you get physical. And is there a potential for another SanDiego.FC red card? Yeah. And Velde is going to be the one that's going to be pushing and shoving. And that's that mental aspect. And that's the mental aspect that the veteran players are going to bring to this young green squad is okay, these kids are good. Physically, they are good. Like the numbers, the charts, the the rest that they're getting, the recovery that they hit, all these projections and numbers and everything. They're good. They're super athletes. They're super freaks essentially. But now you bring that experience and you can have that and lean on it a little because SanDiego FC is also playing careful. They know they can't afford more red cards. They know they figured it out in the back line. Now they got to figure it out everywhere else. And if this is the case and SanDiego FC loses their composure even a little bit, that's going to result in a card or a goal. And there's just there's no data that supports that otherwise. They make a mistake, the other team's just waiting for that. And now they have a blueprint on how to do it. Last year, Portland played a certain way against SanDiego FC, but they're noticing, hey, this team's losing now. What's going on? Oh, okay, we just play this way. Oh, okay, simple. We'll just wait for their mistake. And then we'll just counterattack. Velde scores. Here we go. You only need one. Houston proved it on the midweek. You only need one goal.
Right. Without the connectivity that we saw from back to middle to front that involved getting Dreyer and Chucky, or, and then the beginning of the year, Dreyer and Gvartsen involved, there's no there for the SanDiego offense. It's honestly just passing around the back to the middle to get intercepted, to recover, to pass around the back in the middle to get intercepted, to recover, give up a chance, don't give up a chance. But it's really been, honestly, Anders Dreyer out there just like, am I here? What am I doing? Am I in an ad? Am I playing a game? Where am I? And I'd love to see that. If nothing else, I'd love to see that change on Saturday. Last time I asked to see, and it was for the RSL match on last week's show, but I asked for the team to be on the front foot again, to show that tempo, that rhythm that marked their entire first year. Boy, they did the opposite of that. At RSL, they were horse crap. They were so bad in that game. Oh, well, they won the second half. Cool. That's what happens when you're down 4-1. The other team lets you win the second half because they don't want to expend any more energy. They want to book the dub. Houston isn't a very special team, and they 1-0'd you, but you're away. So, okay. So I resubmit my petition to the court. I would like to see this team on the front foot, establishing tempo, connecting the midfield to the forwards, and finding their way to some exciting, entertaining soccer. If we're going to lose 1-0 all the time, Casey Stoney could step in and be the head coach of the team. If we want to start playing a suffering style and scream for 0-0s and get excited about 1-1s, then we're not playing SDFC's style that I heard so damn much about. The style, right to dream, the style. Well, the style is lacking these days. So show me the value in it. Show me front foot. Show me tempo. Show me connection. If you get a result out of that, I will not be surprised. If you establish those things, you probably get a result at the end of it.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's just I hope that Marcus and Barton is healthy enough to start and really be on the front foot to start off this game. I think people have been asking for a striker. This guy has 7 goal contributions. That's tied for 4th in the league, along with Anders Dreyer. So both of these guys have 7 apiece, and yeah, that's a really good thing. That's really good for your offense, and it's just about getting them the ball so they can go out there and score the goals, get the assists. They can do it. They could do it themselves. It's just having both of these guys on the field at the same time, and Bartson is really much needed. And yeah, I'm liking the confidence out of Manodua and Chris McVay together. I think Manodua looked his best as he's been in the last few games. He was really pushing the ball, getting the ball in the final third. He was actually taking it himself because no one was trying to contest him. He was taking the ball himself to the final third and trying to get a pass in. So I like that out of Mano Dua. He is such a great contributor on attack and defense. So there were some good things from the last match. It's just putting it all together, and hopefully we see some points out of it.
Ingredients are there. MLS, SanDiego FC is top 10 in scoring right now. They're 9th. If you want to look on the other side, Duran, he's currently in the 4th in the league for goals prevented, 2.82. Right. So there's highlights, but they just need to put it together. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's the biggest frustration with Mikey and the team is they're just not putting it together. They're not, but the ingredients are there. And that's why I'm just like, okay, baby steps. If you get some points here, if you get a victory, wow, great. Like that's now you're shutting mouths up early in the season from what's been happening. So I always love opportunities for teams to shut mouths, and this is where it is. Portland, you're at home, Snapdragon Stadium, get everybody involved again. They're trying to right now. The marketing is, hey guys, remember last year against this team? Yeah, that was last year. It was a completely different situation, completely different feeling. Now you need to go ahead and buy back some of that goodwill.
Well, guys, with that, let's bring a close to this episode of the Chromaniacs, Season 2, Episode 13, 41st overall of our main weekly show. We should be back Saturday night with some post-match coverage of SDFC and Portland. As we mentioned at the beginning, I invite everyone to check out the journey of the San Diego Sockers tomorrow night as they go for a championship against Milwaukee Wave. If they don't get the job done Friday, they've got another chance on Monday night at Front Wave Arena, but everyone wants to get the job done on Friday night. So check that out. Come on out, sdsoccers.com, frontwavearena.com to buy your tickets for what should be a raucous, super exciting evening. If you're out of market or out of cash or out of time, you can watch Tony and I on the CBS Sports Golazo Network, which is available on Paramount Plus, is available for free on Pluto TV, is available on cbssports.com as well. So if you hunt it down, you can find it. Tony, other than your antagonist Chiva going to nettle Mikey Varas tomorrow, what else would you like to promote for SanDiego.Futbol?
Well, we got Two Balls and a Mic on Monday where we'll talk about exactly what's been happening with SanDiego FC, some post-match reaction. We'll see what happens with Portland, some coverage of San Diego Wave as they come back as well into action away, and hopefully celebrating goals, gaffes, and grace with the great of the San Diego Sockers being champions of MASL. And if it's on Monday, I was going to ask, can we do a show from Front Wave?
I mean, Two Balls and a Mic on Tuesday. If Front Wave, if the Sockers play a Monday championship, I think you're just kind of screwed.
Well, I was going to say pre-match.
I guess.
Yeah, we'll see.
Chiva doesn't want to do that.
I'll force him. But I would try to make it tomorrow to pacify that interaction. But if not, check out the pre-match meet availability tomorrow in the middle of the day. It should be coming out. See if Chiva's still allowed to talk San Diego FC or he's just excommunicado.
Oh man, hey, it's gonna be a great soccer weekend. Good football weekend. I'm loving it. But catch my preview, my recap, all that stuff on chromaticfc.com. And if you want to talk some soccer, I'm always available on Instagram, chromaticfcsd. And Craig.
Outstanding. Well, another post-match or post-game show, I should say, for the patrons today after San Diego Padres rallied for 5 of the 9th to beat Colorado. We do post-game shows after every win, and if they aren't winning, we do a group therapy show after every series for our patrons at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Click that little button at padreshottub.com to get there. We do a free show every single week for Padres Hot Tub, which you can find on YouTube as well as wherever you get your podcasts. And that's it for today's show. For Tony Sanchez and Alex Pena, I'm Craig Elston. Hope to see you out at the stadium. And until after Saturday night's result, vamos, SDFC.